On September 24th, 1869, the beating heart of America's economy stopped cold. In a single afternoon, the price of gold plummeted so violently that hysterical mobs formed on Wall Street, literally screaming for blood. Major banks collapsed instantly. Thousands of legitimate businesses evaporated into thin air, leaving families destitute, and millions of dollars, billions in today's value, vanished from the hands of honest men in mere minutes. Suicides were reported across New York as desperate traders realized they had lost absolutely everything to a rigged game. But this wasn't a natural disaster. It was a calculated assassination of the U.S. Treasury, orchestrated by just two shadowy figures. How did a pair of railroad tycoons manage to blind the president and hold the entire United States government hostage for their own greed? To understand this crime, we must first meet the strangest and most dangerous partnership in Wall Street history. Jay Gould was a small, tuberculosis-ridden man with a dark beard and eyes like cold black marbles. He was the silent genius, a man who plotted financial ruin for others while quietly pruning his orchids. Beside him stood Diamond Jim Fisk, a loud, rotund showman who wore flashy velvet suits and diamonds. Fisk paraded through New York with showgirls and brass bands, distracting the public while Gould worked the numbers. Together, they were the Erie Ring, having already stolen a railroad empire from the mighty Cornelius Vanderbilt himself. By 1869, they controlled the rails, but they wanted to control the nation's currency itself. The gold standard, the American economy, relied on greenbacks, paper money not backed by metal, and actual physical gold. The price of gold fluctuated wildly, determining the cost of everything from simple bread to industrial steel. Gould calculated that if gold prices rose artificially, farmers would sell wheat abroad, filling his trains with cargo. But there was one massive obstacle standing in the way of their inflation scheme: the U.S. Treasury. The government held millions in gold reserves and sold it weekly to keep the national economy stable. If Gould rigged the market, the Treasury would simply dump their gold, crushing his scheme instantly. So Gould didn't just plan to buy gold, he planned to buy the government influence itself. He identified a weak link, Abel Corbin, an elderly speculator married to President Ulysses S. Grant's sister. Through Corbin, the snake entered the garden, planting a seed of corruption right next to the president. They wined and dined the president, not to ask for favors directly, but to be seen with him. Wall Street watched them sitting in a private theater box with the president, assuming they had inside information. But as they quietly bought millions in gold, whispered doubts began to circulate among the elite. Was the President of the United States actually conspiring with these notorious gamblers to rob the public? The scam relied on a psychological masterpiece. They didn't just manipulate numbers, they manipulated the narrative of American patriotism. Gould paid journalists to publish articles claiming that high gold prices would help American farmers export their harvest to Europe. It was a seductive lie. They convinced the public that betting on gold was not greed, but a service to the nation. To seal the trap, they corrupted the New York sub-treasury by bribing the assistant treasurer, General Daniel Butterfield, for a promised fortune. Butterfield agreed to tip them off immediately if the government decided to sell gold. With the insider secured, Gould and Fisk began the bull run. They bought every ounce of gold on the market. The price ticked up, 130, 132, 135. The shorts, traders betting on a drop, were trapped in a vice. Panic buying set in. Merchants, clerks, and even priests strained their savings to buy gold, fearing they would be left behind. Then, the perfect storm arrived. President Grant left Washington for a remote vacation in Pennsylvania, far from the telegraph. The Treasury was effectively unguarded. Gould and Fisk saw the open door and pushed the buy button to the floor. They engineered a corner. They owned more gold contracts than there was gold in the entire city of New York. On the evening of September 22nd, Gould felt invincible. But then, a secret letter arrived from his spy inside the White House. The president had grown suspicious. Grant had told his brother-in-law Corbin to disconnect immediately from the speculators. Gould realized the game was over. The government strike was coming. But he made a chilling decision. He didn't tell his partner, while Fisk continued to buy like a madman, screaming up, up, up. Gould began to secretly sell everything he had. The sun rose on Friday, September 24th. The market was screaming at an all-time high, unaware it was standing on a trapdoor. Friday, September 24th, 1869, began not as a trading day, but as a descent into absolute madness. The gold room was a deafening pit of screaming men, a pressure cooker ready to explode violently. Jim Fisk, playing his role as the bull perfectly, stood at the center, roaring 160 for any part of 5 millions. He was buying gold that didn't exist, driving the price to the moon with sheer brute force. But in the shadows, Jay Gould was quietly executing the ultimate betrayal against his own partner. Every time Fisk bought, Gould was secretly selling, dumping his gold onto the market before the crash. By noon, the price hit $162. The U.S. economy was paralyzed, merchants closed shops, factories stopped. Then, the hammer dropped. A telegraph boy burst into the room, waving a message from Washington. The message was simple but devastating. The treasury will sell 4 million gold tomorrow. The government had entered the game. The bubble exploded instantly. Silence fell for one heartbeat. Then chaos. Sell, sell, sell. The chant replaced the roar of the bulls. The price free fell 160, 145, 135. In 15 minutes, the fortune of a generation was wiped out. Men who were millionaires at noon were paupers. By 12:30, Albert Speyer, a prominent broker, went clinically insane on the floor, continuing to buy imaginary gold as he was dragged away. Outside, the mob turned violent. A crowd gathered with ropes, chanting for the death of Gould and Fisk. The two men fled out the back door, escaping into a carriage, barricading themselves in the opera house, protected by armed thugs. They counted their stolen money while Wall Street burned. But the worst was yet to come. Fast forward to 2026. You might look at this sepia-tone nightmare and think, we are safer now. The laws protect us. You would be dead wrong. The technology has changed. But the predator's playbook remains identical. Gould used a telegraph to rig prices. Today, unseen whales use high-frequency algorithms and AI bots to manipulate your reality. The modern pump and dump wasn't invented by crypto scams. It was perfected in that Victorian gold room. In the last decade, trillions have evaporated in sudden crashes that mirror Black Friday with mathematical precision. The terrifying truth is that the global financial system is still a fragile illusion held together only by faith. And just like those desperate farmers in 1869, you aren't the player in this high-stakes game. You are the liquidity. You are the exit. Liquidity for the elite who are already quietly selling their stakes. Look closely at your digital savings. If the power goes out, do you really own anything at all? So what happened to the architects of this ruin? Did they rot in a dark cell for destroying the nation? Absolutely not. Jay Gould hired an army of lawyers, delayed every trial, and never spent a single day in prison. Jim Fisk was murdered 2 years later, but not by the law. He was shot by a jealous lover on a hotel staircase. Gould died years later in his bed, the richest man in America, leaving a legacy of cold, untouchable ruthlessness. The system didn't punish them because they owned the system. Black Friday proved one cold, final fact. In the high-stakes arithmetic of power, the law is not a shield for the people. It is just another commodity to be bought. History doesn't just repeat, it hunts. The dust of 1869 is settled, but the machine never stopped turning. The next Black Friday isn't a possibility, it is a guarantee. And when it comes, there will be no warning.